Let's throw our hands in the air
Woo-hoo.
as we soar through the sky.
Yatta.
We'll catch the sun
Woo-hoo.
with your hand in mine. And
Yeah.
if we work as a team, everything will be fine.
Yeah!
Oh, it's Cure of the What Now?
Let's henshin and start the show!
Hello, fellow filler enjoyers of Tropical Rouge, and welcome to episode 33 of Cure of the What Now?
Cure of the What Now?
That's right, you did ask me to sing it. The only show where we... Do you want me to do the intro over again?
No, man, this is fine. Let's go. Keep it rolling. Screw it, let's do it live.
The only show where we know Buff Karurun is the future. I'm your host, Kat, and I am the co-host you saved earlier.
Oh.
Don't peek.
We're the mic equipment that you saved earlier. We're the mixer that you saved earlier. We're the recording file that you saved earlier.
From whence does this disembodied voice come? I must know who you are.
Yes, I am Joel, your co-host and relative newbie to PreCure. And also, I just gotta let you know that I came up with a new attack name. It's Guacamole, Mango, Fiery Salsa, Explosion, Turtle Snake, Dog Fox, Cat Lion, Rat Giraffe,
Baja Blast!
Ultimate Diet Crystal Light Edition, sponsored by Shadow Raid Legend. Blast.
Oh my gosh. Here's the thing about that attack name.
Yeah.
It could easily be a Taco Bell menu item.
The one that I came up with or the one from the
that
episode?
you came up with.
Yeah, I think so.
Or the one from the episode. Taco Bell gets kind of crazy with their menu names.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine Laura being like, it's called a triple double crunch wrap, but there's only 5 layers or whatever it is.
Triple double crunch wrap. Triple 3 double 3 times 2 6 layers. This should have 6 layers, but I don't think it does.
Maybe, actually, it makes more sense for Minori, I think, to be confused by the number of layers, and Laura and Manatsu just be like, go with it.
They're
it's
just
fine.
eating it. Manatsu in the background has put too much flaming sauce on hers, and her mouth is on fire.
Absolutely.
So this was kind of a fun episode, and I have a discussion question for you based on this episode.
Que extraño.
If you were going to make a small vignette type clip about the PreCure, what would your short story be?
About the Tropical Rouge PreCure girls? Ooh, that's a really difficult one. Maybe they all show up to a party, but they all thought it was a different type of party. So you could have like Songo show up and she's just like dressed up like she's going to the opera, and then Manatsu could show up and she's dressed like she's going to like a comic convention or something, and they'd all just stare at each other and be like, oh no, what happened here?
I think I would do one where Laura was looking for the Yarane Da.
Okay.
And the other girls were, like, eating ice cream or something. And Laura's, like, literally looking under the bed. And she's looking behind the curtain. And Manatsu's like, what are you doing, Laura? And Laura's like, I'm looking for that Yarane Da. It's around here somewhere. And Manatsu's like, no, maybe there is no Yarane Da today. And Laura goes, there's a Yarane Da every day. And finally, Manatsu convinces her, like, relax and eat some ice cream. And then it zooms out. And out the window, there's just, like, a giant one just, like, destroying the city. And the other girls are fighting it.
Okay. I like that a lot. There was one, I can't remember, we didn't actually write down like the titles of the different shorts, but there was one that I thought for sure was going to end with like a mecha reference, so I would have loved a version where like it was drawn like Speed Racer or something, or the old school Voltron, and they all got in like their robots or something. I think technically that would be copyright, but it's Toei. Toei owns like everything.
Toei does own everything. Yeah, absolutely. I'm still waiting for that PreCure One Piece crossover. I think that would be Tropica-Shined. Do you have a succinct summary for me this week?
The succinct summary is that this episode was just a series of what-if stories with different animation styles, and most of the time they ended with some kind of a punchline, though a few of them did not necessarily have as direct of a punchline as others.
Absolutely. And without getting into more specific details about the different vignettes, I really don't think that there is any more summarizing to do. It was so wacky and out there, and some of them were so short that we might as well just discuss the actual shorts. So did you have any favorite scenes or moments from this episode, and what would you say was your favorite vignette?
I don't know if I could pick an absolute favorite, but I think the ones that ranked highest were ones that were full of some form of fan service. So we had one that actually involved the HeartCatch voice actors and the animation style of HeartCatch for a second there. That was excellent. We had one that was Cure Kururun, which is, fans have been wondering if Kururun was going to get their own transformation or something, and that's happened with previous fairies. And then I had another one that was in my head just a moment ago. The body switcheroo one was pretty good just because I don't know if that counts as fan service of other seasons or fan theories, but you did get kind of like Sango being buff and Asuka being like, oh dear, I'm too cute.
Yes, and I loved the Yarne Da in Laura's body.
Absolutely. Or Sango with the rings under her eyes to show that she's Chongi Ray.
Yes, oh my goodness. So one of my favorite things about this episode was the different animation styles they did for each of the shorts.
Yes.
And I have not verified this, so I'm not sure what was going on, but my theory was maybe it was like a student animator type deal where each person got a chance to do their own PreCure short.
Maybe.
My favorite of the shorts was probably the HeartCatch one. I was so happy to see my girls again.
It was so good. And then the joke was that the Tropical Rouge girls found a YouTube video of them and being like, wow, if they're legendary, doesn't that mean that they're old? And then it goes to Marine. She's like, how dare you? How rude.
She's so angry that they called her old. If that one is too cheap to pick as my favorite, I really liked The Frightening Mansion of Delays, which was a short about the villains and what they get up to in their mansion. And this was like presented as a scary story that Manatsu was telling, and she's horrified because they all get distracted by different things that aren't important, and nobody keeps them in line. Even the butler gets distracted.
That one came dangerously close to making me be like, they are not going to make that joke, are they? Because the very last one is the Witch of Delays, and she goes, I need to use the bathroom, but I'll just go. And I was like, please don't say in the bed. Please don't. And she was like, tomorrow. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. They avoided the worst case scenario.
As soon as she said, I need to use the bathroom, I went, oh no, the show is coming for me. And then she said, but I'm too lazy to get up. And I went, oh, they hit me right in the heart. It's not that I'm too lazy to get up, listeners. It's just that sometimes I'm warm.
Yeah, sometimes there's a cat laying on your lap and you don't want to disturb them.
Exactly, right? Sometimes I don't want my Aussie to follow me to the bathroom, and I know that she will. She's an Aussie. They can't mind their own business.
Absolutely. Now, really quickly, before we talk about any other moments or good animation things, I think that this episode can officially be marked as the first filler episode of any PreCure that I've ever seen. Now, usually when we cover, say, like One Piece, or we do like Black Clover or Naruto for a bonus episode, filler refers to episodes in the anime that were not in the manga and typically aren't as high quality. They have kind of worse jokes or kind of flat characters and that sort of thing. HeartCatch PreCure is an anime first property, and I think the manga does a lot of expansions and they explore themes that they can't do in the TV show, but the TV show is the original canon. So how can you have a filler episode by literally saying these are just made-up stories? And as I have said before, I think that this season they're playing it safe due to the global pandemic that happened last year that messed with Healing Good. So I think that this year they planned like 42 episodes of story, and then they got here and they're like, we haven't had any delays. What are we going to do? Toei's going to give us 45 episodes to air, and they're like, we could do a series of vignettes. That would be kind of funny. People would like that. So
yeah, the other theory I saw was that this was advertising for HeartCatch. So the HeartCatch stuff in the middle was really the point of all of it.
Sure, but you can't just randomly have an episode where they meet each other because, yeah.
That's the movie, yeah. One thing I want to say really quick. So, typically, every PreCure season, when its movie is coming out, they change their opening slightly to have scenes from the movie.
It'll be the same song, but they'll change the visuals, exactly.
And I don't necessarily care about that, because a lot of the times they straight up spoil things from the movie. So, like, Kira Kira on Crunchyroll cuts out all of that. You don't see any of the movie-related advertisement, even during those episodes where it should be. But I learned from Reddit that there was an outro related to the movie for this episode that we didn't get watching it on Crunchyroll, where Cure Blossom dances with Summer. And right. I really wish we had gotten to see that. I think that would have been cool. So I might go to the website where we see episodes that aren't available on Crunchyroll and see if I can see just that.
I believe you mean buy the DVDs.
Yes, buy the DVDs from Japan. My uncle runs Toei, you see?
You're not supposed to say runs. You're supposed to say, I have an uncle in Toei.
You're right. Mr. Toei is not my uncle, but Mr. Toei is my uncle's indirect superior.
I am 7 degrees of separation from the president of Toei. And we once passed each other in an elevator. It was awesome.
Did you give him your PreCure season pitch?
I did, and he said that maybe I should tone down the enthusiasm. And please don't shout in his face. So
I don't think that's very Tropica-Shining of him, Joel.
No,
that's
absolutely
not the Genki spirit I expect from the man who runs Toei.
Now, speaking of openings and closing, I believe that we also got something else interesting about the opening this week.
Yes. Some of the changes from last week were gone, but there were new changes. So, like, Laura was painting her nails in a scene in this week's opening that wasn't in last week's or the one before that.
Okay.
But also the music, they were all singing together.
Yes, so I don't know who sings the original version. It might be Manatsu's voice actor, or it might just be a random voice actor who isn't, or a singer who isn't in the show. But this week's version, it was Manatsu and Sango and Minori and Asuka and Laura all singing different parts of the song, and that's really nice. I believe most seasons do a version of the opening like that, but to my knowledge, and I will admit that sometimes I tune out when the opening is playing, I don't know if they've ever actually put that in the actual episode. I've usually seen it as, like, you find it on Spotify.
On the album.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite things that anime does. The cast version of, like, We Are from One Piece is the best version of We Are,
yes.
For example. So I was really excited to hear it. That's about all I had for this episode. Actually, that's not entirely true. Karurun reigns supreme. There was a Cure Karurun vignette, and they got the entire transformation, but said Karurun for every piece instead of cheeks, eyes, etc. But they were so cute, and then they wake up from the dream and they're sad because they're not really a PreCure, and Karurun, I believe in you.
The same way that, you know, some might think that this was just a sneaky way to remind people that HeartCatch exists, or show the energy, the synergy between the two seasons. I think that maybe the Karurun vignette might have been, maybe they're testing the waters to see how fans react, to see if they can sneak in Cure Karurun with, like, the last 3 episodes left or something like that. I will say that a lot of the visuals from these episodes having different styles were really amazing. Twice in this episode, during different vignettes, Manatsu is shown without any hair on the top of her head. She still has her ponytail, I believe, and she definitely still has the 5-pointed kind of like star bangs, but just no hair on the top of her head, and I don't know if they were given notes about that, or if, like, that's a specific reference to a specific old character from, you know, anime or something, but it was a little strange.
But why is Manatsu bald? I agree. There was one where she was in her normal form, and then one of her is Cure Summer.
That's right, yeah.
So,
absolutely.
That was pretty funny. Do you have anything else you want to say about this episode?
I know that the joke of body switching is pretty, like, one note, you know, Asuka is the buff one and that sort of thing. I kind of wish that the switcheroo vignette had shown more swaps. Maybe just, like, as the episode goes on, it gets more and more wild until eventually at some point, like, it's just Sango's eyes on a tree and she's just like, ah!
Yeah, lean real hard into that absurdist humor. I like it.
Absolutely. So yeah, I don't know which facial expressions we're going to put in the thumbnail. I haven't created it yet. In fact, I don't think I'm ever going to create the thumbnail before we do the episode, but you will probably see a couple of good ones in this week's.
Absolutely. I have a quick one-sentence summary of Futari Wa PreCure for you.
Oh, sure.
Lacrosse feelings.
Wow, okay, I was about to say I can do it in 2 words. I thought maybe yours was going to be longer. Mine was going to be lacrosse drama. So, Nagisa is on the lacrosse team, which has been important for about a total of 2 episodes so far. There are 2 other girls who are, I believe, in the same grade as Nagisa, who joined the team together, and they both really aspired to be good, and one of them missed a shot last week, and so she's feeling bad, and then her other friend is like, hey, I think you're great. And she goes, I don't think that I am. And the other one goes, fine, maybe you aren't. And she's like, oh, how could you say that about me? So she thinks she's going to quit, but then she doesn't quit. And through the power of friendship, she manages to win the lacrosse game.
Yeah, I commented on this while we were watching it, but again, this is a conflict that I think would be really relatable for the target audience. But for me, an adult, I'm like, girls, couldn't you just not do this?
Well, and like, I understand the idea of wanting to be perfect and the idea of not wanting to miss a shot or feeling like you cost your team the victory. The vice principal is a huge butthole who clearly is like, you have to win every game or our school is worthless and you should just go home and cry yourself to sleep. At the same time, I feel like most of the coaches for the teams I was on when I was really young versus I was on the track and cross country teams in high school, the coaches usually weren't like, you have to be perfect every time. They were usually like, what the heck happened there? But mistakes happen. And so, she missed 1 shot. It's not like she had an unlucky streak all season. It was 1 mistake and she was really feeling upset about it. It's like, cheer up. When she was practicing later to try and make sure she hadn't lost her groove, she hit every single bottle on the first try. So it's like, yeah, you're obviously good.
Right? She's obviously good, but that 1 mistake just kind of eats away at you. The meanest coach I ever knew wasn't even a sports coach. It was the coach for my sister's marching band. And I went to one of these guys' concerts, and I thought they did amazing. They sounded great, they were enthusiastic, and whatever, it's marching band. They marched very well. But I went to find my sister after, and he had these kids gathered in a big group, and he was like, what the F was that? What is the matter with you? Get it together. And I was like, these are children? And my sister's like, no, you have to take it seriously. We didn't play very well. And I was like, how can you tell?
Yeah, absolutely. There are extreme coaches. I guess what I'm just saying is that, again, it seemed like a small mistake, and I think that most athletes of various levels know that, it's a combination of events, Maybe you might have that one player that all of their hopes are riding on, and basically everyone else is just there to make sure that they have the ball or whatever, but I don't know, it seems really dramatic.
I agree. I just think it's funny that the only extreme coach I've ever known wasn't even a sports coach.
Absolutely. I missed the point. Also, we get confirmation that Poloon's "Stop hurting my friends" laser beam can travel across town.
Which is convenient, because that means they don't have to take the baby with them to school.
Yeah. I'm still not sure how the bad guys have been unable to figure out that this new creature that showed up right at the moment that they got their new power-up that hits them with a laser beam that gives them their power-up might be related to the stones they're looking for in the magic power.
Oh, that's simple, Joel. The bad guys are stupid.
I guess they are. That about wraps us up for Futari Wa, I think. Do you have any other thoughts?
I don't. Let's talk about bad guys who aren't stupid. Tell me your Kira sparkling thoughts.
I still think that Elysio is kind of stupid, sort of. Because he seems to be... Okay, so these 3 episodes follow a very specific theme, and I think the next 3 episodes are going to follow that same theme. Elysio is basically targeting each member of the PreCure team and trying to make them give in to despair using different weaknesses. So the first episode that I watched, 41, was about Ciel and her relationship with Rio, and Rio, and Elysio tries to make the town turn on Rio in order to make Ciel disheartened. In the next episode, Aoi's band is breaking up, and Elysio tries to take away her dream by making it so the audience can't hear her music and takes away her band members. And then the third episode is Himari auditioning for a spot as like an assistant on a cooking show. And she's a huge flippin' nerd. Her words, not mine. Like, she's embarrassed by, like, how she over-explains everything. And Elysio tries to... What does he do in that episode?
He burns her notebook.
Oh, yes! He burns her notebook that has all of her important notes in it. And she's able to rise above. So the next 3 episodes, I assume, are going to be about Akira, Yukari, and Ichika facing Elysio individually.
And of course, Ichika goes last.
Yeah, The leader always gets the most impactful, but also the last challenge.
It's weird, too, because we almost already had this episode for Yukari when she confronted her child self and was like, I love you, it's okay.
And that was even an Elysio-led episode. Like, if you said that Graves had an episode with Akira, you could say, well, maybe Elysio will exploit a different weakness or do it in a different way, but yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he'll try... And he'll just be like, you know what? No, you already are beyond me. He'll go do something else instead.
Absolutely.
My favorite of these 3 episodes is definitely Aoi's. It was very emotionally impactful, I think. Her continuing to try to sing, even though her voice has been taken away and her dreams are locked in a cage of despair. It was very beautiful, and then her voice breaks through, and it destroys the cage, and it brings back her friends. I love it.
I will say, too, that in terms of dramatic stakes, it's also the most impactful, because Elysio traps the other Kira girls in some magic field of some sort, whereas in the Ciel episode and the Himari episode, they were still kind of running around, even if they were fighting some other monster or something like that. So, yes. I want to go back to my stupid joke, though. If Elysio really wanted to, like, give despair to these girls, or he really was trying to get rid of the PreCure, exploiting their weaknesses is fine. But what if he just bought a gun? Or he set up a trap door so that when they tried to leave their house to go to school, they just fell and they were stuck at the bottom of a pit, and then he did evil things while they were incapacitated.
Do any of them have a dog that he could John Wick?
Oh my gosh, that is too dark. How dare you?
You're right. This isn't a JoJo's podcast. What was your favorite of these 3 episodes?
No, I think Aoi's was probably the best. Rio's, I think, had a lot of potential because Rio was touched by the darkness, or he did give in to the darkness, and he does have these doubts. But at the same time, he clearly came back due to everyone believing in him and such, and so I think Aoi's just was the best, and she managed to continue to sing even when she was locked up, even when she didn't have a voice, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, I will say I like the Himari episodes just for the memes, because specifically it was all in that notebook you burned.
Ah, yes.
Which,
okay.
For those of you who don't watch shonen anime, is a My Hero Academia quote.
Absolutely. I will say at the very end, when, so Himari goes in as contestant, 15, that's right, because I made a comment about how 1 and 5 is Ichi-go, like strawberry, like the name of the town. But she goes in, she is asked to, like, talk about why she thinks baking is neat while pretending to whisk a bowl, and she's like, well, there's actually different whisking techniques. What type of thing am I making? Because that really matters. And they're like, you're a huge nerd, get out of here. And then at the end of the episode, when she's cure custard, she gets pulled in because I guess one of the contestants was dressed as a squirrel, and they happened to go missing right before Cure Custard showed up. But this time when they try to be like, you're a huge nerd, why do you care? She's very like, I am passionate about baking, and I refuse to kind of like lower myself or express myself in a different way, and I think that's cool, you know?
Yep, I think the best outcome would have been she gave her explanation, and then they also actually tried her whipped cream, and they were like, this is incredible. And they had given her the position based on that.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Or if maybe they had been like, nobody cares about the technical explanation, and she could be like, no, I think a lot of people care. That's what got me into cooking, and that's what's made it more impactful to me, that kind of thing. If it was more of like a personal essay. But, sometimes these episodes are a little short, and I still think that they were all great episodes overall.
Absolutely. I really liked the return of Professor Ichiban.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I just like that little piece of continuity that she's been, like, working in his laboratory when she's not at the Kiripati or at school.
Yes, I think that was great. I want to talk about Elysio being a Digimon. Because... in other episodes we've seen, Julio and Biberi and Grave, and even Elysio prior to these episodes, they would summon different monsters that would fight on their behalf, or they would infect, like, items, or they would create weapons. But Elysio's new strategy for these episodes is he takes a card out of his deck and he goes, this is the armor I'm going to use for today's episode. In Season 1 of Digimon, in the first series, Digimon basically had a strict linear progression. Agumon became Greymon. Greymon became Metal Greymon. Technically, there was the episode where Greymon turned into Skull Greymon, but that was the corruption of whatever. But they basically only ever went up in a straight line. In the Season 2, they were unable to digivolve, and they had to introduce Armor Digivolution. So now Vmon could become Flamedramon or Rydramon, depending on whether it was the Crest of Courage or the Crest of Friendship. Clearly, that's what Elysio is doing here. He's armor digivolving with the different cards into different forms. So one of these episodes, he was kind of like a armored Valkyrie type thing. In Himari's episode, he was like an art film guy who had like a skirt or kilt or cape made out of film, which I thought was kind of an interesting detail. And then in the other episode, I don't remember what he became, but he became something that was... he's just trying out different outfits.
He was a magician.
Ah, yes, that's right. But yeah, Elysio has different forms, and I can't wait to see him turn into evil rabbit mode when he goes up against Ichika.
I really like his form for episode 44.
That's the next one?
Yes.
Absolutely. Just as a reminder for those of you at home, if you're watching along, I'm watching 3 episodes at a time for the next 2 weeks, so next upcoming week will be 44, 45, and 46. And again, through some kind of divine providence, if I'm right, that means that these are going to be the last 3 solo-focused episodes for Akira, Yukari, Ichika, and then the last 3 are probably going to be Noir takes the stage. So, that kind of timed that out kind of nicely.
Absolutely. I just want to say again, this is such a well-structured season.
I really like it. The bad guys naturally have a reason for, like, getting stronger one after another. Even our favorite season, Princess, had an episode where... I can't remember which one's shut, which one's locked, which one's closed, but one of them just randomly evolved into a stronger version for, like, literally no reason. But in this show, like, Graves got stronger because he ate Diable. Diable woke up because they'd finally gotten enough Dark Kirikuru. Elysio has taken his final form, or so we think, because he absorbed the other one. So there's always, like, a reason that the next bad guy who shows up is stronger.
You know what I just realized?
What's that?
Shut literally gained courage through makeup. He would have been, like, such a good fit for Tropical Rouge.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Also, I just want to say shout out to PreCure for not only showing us there's multiple ways to be a girl, but there's multiple ways to be a man as well.
Yeah.
You can be an angry bird thing, or you can be an effeminate pixie man, It's up to you. It's your choice.
You can even be a gamer if you're the third one of the trio who has no eyes, or maybe the eyes are on the hoodie. I can't remember. Something like that.
Eyes on the hoodie.
I do want to say, I did want to bring this up while we were recording. I really like it. It is a little episodic. I can predict what the next 3 episodes are going to be about, but it makes sense that every PreCure season, the characters start in one place, and by the end of the season, you hope that they're in another place. Tsubomi wanted to grow as a person, Haruka wanted to become a princess, Manami wanted to know what she was going to do with her life, etc., etc., etc. And Kira did a really good job of giving each character a final trial where they alone are facing some kind of a threat. And technically, I think Star Twinkle did it with the Imagination Pens. They each got their own episode. But there's just something about the way that Elysio is doing it that's different than the way that Star Twinkle did it, in that the bad guy is literally saying, I choose you, I'm going to exploit this weakness, and I'm going to make it super hard. Like, it's a trial that the bad guy set up rather than they just happen to be fighting someone who is exactly Elena's, like, dark counterpart, and she happens to learn a lesson from it. So.
Yeah, it's very purposeful. I agree. I like it a lot.
And I think that's about it. We can move on to Tweets in a Bottle, Tropica Thoughts, if you want.
I am ready for some of those Tropica Thoughts.
All right, so once again, I technically cheated, as James didn't post these in the channel, but he expressed them as soon as he finished watching this week's Tropical Rouge. How can this be a nothing and everything happening in a single episode? And I agree. The idea, doing an episode that takes place in an alternate dimension or in a dream or where the rules aren't quite what they seem is a fantastic way to explore things that you wouldn't be able to explore in a strictly continuity situation. Kier Karun is an amazing idea. I hope that we get them eventually, and I hope that maybe they're a little bit more human than just Karun with like a longer tail fin, because I'm not sure how well that could fight in battle, but it's still interesting to see it in this form, even if we don't get or do get a different version of it down the line. And James also said that it was hard not to just turn the episode into one giant GIF, because there were so many screen-capable scenes.
One giant what?
GIF?
Yeah. Sorry, you said GIF.
What?
You did. I was shocked. I just want to say really quick, glancing over the scratch pad, I definitely read that as GILF. So I think I've been on Twitter too much. I think I need to touch grass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at the very least, a JPEG of some grass.
You can't touch a JPEG. It's in your computer screen.
You can touch your computer screen. Mine is a touch screen.
I don't know if that counts. That doesn't count as touching the JPEG itself, though.
Heck. What if you print it? Is it still a JPEG if you print it?
That's a difficult question to answer.
These are the philosophical questions that we here at King of the What Now try to answer.
We're technically Cure of the What Now right now.
That's true. Our brand as a whole is King of the What Now. Also, that reminds me, I have a surprise for you after this recording.
That's ominous. Okay. Perfect. Listeners, if you don't hear from me or you notice that the thumbnails take on a subtly different shift and they become less chaotic, it means I've been replaced. Please let everyone know that one of your favorite podcasters has been turned into a Reploid, you know? Anyways, next episode of PreCure is titled, Dreams Are Infinite, What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up?
That sounds like Hugto to me.
Yeah, it sounds like Hugto. Well, and I mean, a lot of different PreCure have had, like, the career day or what do you want to be when you grow up episodes, but who do you think? What's your gut telling you? Who's this episode going to focus on?
I'm going to say Asuka or Minori, because they're the ones who are graduating.
Okay.
And I think that the other girls, Manatsu probably will take this and run with it, but they're going to have a moment of like, we're going to help you explore career paths.
Absolutely. I kind of like the idea of there being an episode that doesn't really focus on any one character, but in the past when we've had episodes like that, Manatsu ends up becoming the default because she just has such a big personality. But I could imagine, I think it's going to be an episode that is specifically for the 8th graders, if that's the grade that Manatsu and them are in. I think they're in 7th grade. It doesn't matter. I think it's going to be a Manatsu, Songo, Laura episode, because Manatsu and Songo can think seriously about what they want to do in the future. It works with Manatsu because she just does what's most important right now. She hasn't thought that far ahead. Songo seems like she's going to be something fashion-related, but it also will allow Laura a chance to be like, do I really want to become a princess? Which I really think is going to be the question she'll have to answer in the last, 4 episodes of the season.
I think so, too. I think that's going to be her big moment.
Maybe they go to Minori and be like, Minori, what do you think we should do? And she'd be like, read a book, you nerds. And they're like, oh no, reading, our one weakness. And that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here. Next episode, Ninja versus Pirate. Who will win?
Yo. What a shining episode of Cure of the What Now. Thanks for being our Nakama.
Thank you as always for your support. If you could, very kindly be sure to like or share this with any of your friends. Let them know that we're always open to suggestions or thoughts about any particular episode.
And please take a moment to rate and review us on wherever you get our podcast from. Except for YouTube. You can't rate and review us on YouTube, but you can like and subscribe.
Absolutely. If you like what we're doing, even just a comment that says keep up the great work is always helpful for brightening our day.
Absolutely. Joel, where can our fine listeners find you if they want more of you?
Absolutely. The best way to get in touch with us is to go onto Twitter and find us at KOTWN_pod. That's where we're most active. But of course, we also have a Gmail. That's kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com.
You can also find me at Pirate Ghost Host.
She is much more prolific than I am, but not all of her content is necessarily about the podcast, whereas the other one tries to focus more on the show.
You like our sticker sheets? Joel's got sticker sheets for you. And that has been your Tropica outro.
Do-do-do-do. You'll be dancing with me today.